Welcome to POP Podcast.
Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Okay, so today we're looking into something that, it might be quietly impacting your money without you even knowing.
Yeah.
We found this really interesting article in The Independent, and it raises some important questions about, well, our bank accounts.
Absolutely. Like right out of the gate, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Bank of America is actually reaching out to customers about this.
Right.
And the core of this, what we're going to be exploring, is these notices they're sending out to people whose accounts haven't seen any activity for a while, like typically around 3 years.
Yeah, around 3 years or more, they
Yeah.
say. And the reason for all this is something called escheatment.
Uh-huh.
I know. It sounds like something you'd see in, the fine print to some old dusty contract.
Right.
But we got to unpack what it actually means, for you and me. So basically, these are state laws, and they deal with what happens to property that's considered abandoned, and that includes, guess what? Your inactive bank accounts. Yeah, it's like that classic scenario. You go up into the attic after a few years, you're like, oh, wow, look at all this stuff I forgot about.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's the state that might be eyeing those dormant accounts.
Right, like finding some forgotten treasure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really break this down. Why is this happening? And what do you actually need to do about it, if anything? We want to get rid of any confusion and just lay out the facts. It may not be as, exciting as that new show everyone's streaming, but understanding this could really save you a headache later on.
Oh, absolutely.
And hey, if you're liking this kind of deep dive into the stuff that really matters, hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah.
It helps us bring you more.
For sure. And, it's not just about knowing what escheatment is, but understanding why a big bank like Bank of America is being so proactive about it.
Yeah.
It's not every day, right, that your bank is like, hey, by the way, we might eventually have to give your money to the state.
Right. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So the Independent article, it's very clear. Yeah.
They lay it out. If your account hasn't been touched for an extended period, and they specifically say typically 3 years or more, they consider it abandoned. And they say it may be turned over to the state under escheat laws.
Mm-hmm.
They're even sending letters out to customers, like a heads up.
Yeah.
It's like a wake-up call for your finances.
It is. And if you get one of those letters, don't just chuck it in the recycling bin.
No.
This is something you need to pay attention to. Bank of America is basically saying, look, you need to follow the instructions on your letter, contact us, and prevent this from happening. They're giving you a lifeline, to keep your money where it belongs with you.
Okay, but they use this phrase, right, typically 3 years or more.
Yeah.
So what exactly triggers that 3-year clock?
Right.
Is it just not logging in, or are there other things that count as inactivity?
That's a really good question, and the answer probably depends on the specific laws in your state.
The article does mention that these laws, they vary by state in the U.S., so the period of time for declaring an account abandoned varies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So while Bank of America is using 3 years as, a general guideline, the actual time frame might be different where you live. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, almost like a plot twist. It's not just your everyday checking or savings accounts that are affected by these laws.
Oh, no.
The article mentions this. Escheat laws also apply to CD and IRA balances, safe deposit boxes, cashier's checks and other official items that are not negotiated, and securities, such as stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Wow.
That's a lot more than what people usually think of as dormant accounts, right?
It is.
We tend to focus on the accounts we use all the time, but a CD, which is, a certificate of deposit, basically a savings account, but with a set term and interest rate, or an IRA, your individual retirement account meant for long-term saving, those can also be subject to these rules if they're left untouched. So that CD you opened years ago, thinking, set it and forget it, it could be on its way to the state if you haven't checked on it.
Right.
And safe deposit boxes, too. That's wild. Like, forgotten things, important documents, who knows what could end up with the state. It's like a real-life storage wars, but with huge personal implications.
Exactly. And, think about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all those investments. Someone inherits them, maybe doesn't even know they exist, doesn't manage them actively, and then boom, after a while, they could go to the state, too. It shows how important it is to not just have these financial things, but to actually keep track of them.
Right. So keep an inventory of all your financial stuff, no
Yes,
matter how big, how small, how long you've had it.
absolutely.
It makes you wonder, like, how much unclaimed property is out there that states are holding on to?
That's got to be a ton.
Right.
States have whole departments dedicated to this, managing all this unclaimed property.
Mm-hmm.
These funds, these assets, are usually held in trust,
Mm-hmm.
and people generally can try to reclaim them. But that process, it's not always easy. It can be complicated. You need a lot of paperwork. It's just a lot easier to prevent it in the first place.
So what's the bottom line for our listeners? Be proactive.
Yes.
Bank of America says, and I quote, "We encourage you to log in and check your balances regularly to keep your accounts active. Just a quick pick at your online banking can often reset that inactivity timer."
Absolutely. And this isn't just a Bank of America thing. This applies pretty much everywhere. Most financial institutions follow these status achievement laws. So no matter where you bank, it's a good habit to have.
So regular activity is key. It doesn't have to be transactions all the time. Sometimes just logging in and looking is enough.
Right, just show some activity.
Exactly. And if you got one of those letters from Bank of America, please don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it.
Follow the instructions, contact the bank, stop it from happening. They even gave a number, 1-800-432-1000. It's always best to address these things directly, get the information straight from the source. It's kind of mind-blowing, really. Something as basic as a bank account and all these complicated legal processes we don't even know about.
I know.
It really shows how important it is to stay on top of your finances, even the accounts you're not using all the time.
It really does. And this brings up a question for everyone listening. How often do you actually check all your financial accounts?
Hmm.
We focus on the ones we use daily, but this is a good reminder to just take a look at any accounts you might have opened in the past and haven't thought about in a while.
Right.
Could save you some trouble later.
We hope this deep dive has, shed some light on this important topic. If you found it helpful and you want us to keep exploring these kind of hidden corners of personal finance, hit that like and subscribe.
Yeah, hit that button.
We're always digging deeper into the details that, can really help you understand how things work.
For sure. And one last thing to think about.
Mm.
In our world, everything's going digital, right?
Hmm.
So what other digital stuff that seems like it's just sitting there might have these kinds of rules and regulations that we don't even know about? Like, think about those cryptocurrency wallets, that people forget about, or all those digital books and movies we buy but never actually open. It's definitely something to consider as we all navigate this ever-changing digital landscape.
It really is. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. See y'all next time. Bye.